Been some time since I did a video, so figured I'd give a little update again on things I've been working on. So Eleanor here is back in the shop again. The reason being, sadly, is not to get fun parts installed, but some brake fix. I'll go over that in a second, but I don't remember if I actually did a video showing the stuff that I did to this car or any of the work that I've done other than the first time it was in. I think I've done a couple more things to the car here and there, but the car was tuned at a dyno shop locally somewhat here, and it made somewhere around, I think, 600 horse to the wheels NA, and then it's got the 150 shot of nitrous on it. The nitrous was installed by me, but do a little quick show under the hood. So this is a 427 small block rated at 650 at the crank. Well, actually it was dynoed at the crank at 650, but it's got the same Raptor pulley system that I have on my new engine that's up front. But the thing's done by me. Don't remember what all I showed before, but we've got a purge set up here. I ended up having to install this little piece of braided and then just a compression fitting onto this aluminum tube. The vibrations from the motor ended up stress cracking the aluminum. We did some header work. We installed these Nord lock washers that are amazing, and we no longer have exhaust leaks. Changed out the spark plugs for the nitrous. The belt was eating itself due to an alignment. We ended up having to machine a spacer for the tensioner down here, and I want to say I might have spaced one of these others, but I don't remember. But anyways, the pulley's aligned now, at least to the point of where it's not eating a belt. This got installed because we were having an issue where all the current was flowing through the accessory wire on the ignition switch, which, if you know anything about these Fords, it's only like a 10 or 12 gauge wire. These big ass fans down here were feeding off of that, and it literally melted the wire or the ignition switch. So we installed this solid state relay. There's another one of these underneath the dash by the glove box that feeds the nitrous solenoids back here, and along with the bottle warmer in the trunk. This right now currently just feeds the fans, but if there's any other need for power underneath the hood, it'll feed that as well. It was discussed we might end up in the future sometime putting an electric water pump on it, because one of the problems it had on the dyno was when they sprayed the nitrous, it blew out the shaft seal on the water pump. So they put the CVF sent some underdrive pulleys to hopefully negate that problem. So that was what's sparked the whole fixing the alignment of the pulleys, because we had to change out pulleys anyways. But the car inside, this thing's absolutely gorgeous. This switch box here was another thing installed. It's just a 3D printed box. It's got some billet switches for the nitrous, purge. It's a burnout switch, which is the traction control, and then the back one's the parking brake. And we had the nitrous activation switch and the Go Baby Go button. These bar mounts for the harnesses, I installed those. And then we showed this before, but that breaker was installed by me, and then this nitrous setup was installed on me, minus these, well, I installed them, but these bottom aluminum brackets that connect the front to the rear that the actual bottle bracket attaches to. He had somebody fabricate those. I did this tank vent, and then that's the switch for the nitrous. It's a pressure switch. Controls the bottle warmer. But onto the fun bits. So this drum assembly here on the other side decided to leave the chat. I don't know what caused it. I don't know if it was due to, I don't know if it was installed factory and maybe it was a installation error at the factory. I don't know if the company that built the car, if they installed these shoes and messed up on the install, or if the drum assembly just failed. But I'll show you the other side. It came apart on him while driving the car, and needless to say, it destroyed it. The other thing we discovered was this little vent here. I just installed that. We've been trying to figure out why we're getting oil around here, and I don't know why it never occurred to me that the axle didn't have a vent tube anywhere that I saw. We couldn't figure out where the oil was coming from. It seemed like it was gear oil, but there wasn't any oil coming from the seals on the ends, and it was always right here by this coil. So I started to wonder if it was an issue with the shock seal, since this geometry on this thing doesn't seem to be right. That was another fun bit by the installer that I did not like. It seems like they didn't quite get these welded up straight, but it's not enough to cause a major issue, at least so far that we've seen. So the amount of work it would take to fix that, it's not gonna happen unless it becomes a major issue. But anyways, that should fix the oil problem we were seeing. It's just a little brass screen. On to the back, you can see the rotors. Good rotor with just, normal wear, and then destroyed rotor. That's a hefty groove. It is just grooved up badly. But onto this, you can see that plate got mangled. It is bent. The drum hardware is gone. I don't know if you can see the backs of the studs. Poor lighting, but the studs got ate up some. You can see the faces of those got ate up. But yeah, we got to order new drum hardware, new backing plate, and yeah, reattach all that hardware because it got destroyed. But as soon as that comes in, we'll get this thing back together and back to its owner, and I can pull mine in because mine's about to start going or undergoing some major work. Finally got to fire up this lathe for the first time. I've used the mill a few times, but the lathe, I just did some turning on. I had to turn down the hub spacer on for my crank pulley that was way off. So machined out some aluminum, and actually it didn't go bad. I'm starting to get the hang of using it. But we'll be doing a motor swap on mine. We'll be putting these pieces of tubing up here to work in this here bender and doing my roll cage. I'll have to do some tunnel work to fit the T56. And then I have one other fun bit that's going to be a real tedious and long-term project of rewiring it, because the new engine is port injection just like this one is, except this motor here is running on a Terminator X. I opted to go with a Haltech Nexus R3 that has a built-in PDU and a lot of other features that you have to add on to the Holly. The more comparable ECU to that R3 would be probably like the HP. Not quite a Dominator, but it'd be like the HP with add-ons with Holly. But I'm excited to get to play with that thing. But like I said, it'll require a lot of rewiring. So one thing at a time. Like I said, I'll get this thing out of the shop and then on to playing with mine. So stay tuned if you interested in any of that roll cage install, the 408 T56 install, and then it will be getting twin turbos on that setup. So I'll be doing a lot of fabrication work on the exhaust and intake side for that. And then hopefully when I'm done, I can start making mine look pretty like this one, get the body work done. So, all right guys, thanks for watching.